அனைவருக்கும் நமஸ்காரம். நம் விழா தலைவர்களை இன்றைய முக்கிய விருந்தினர் ஸ்ரீ M.R. விக்ரம், பார்ட்னர் M. ஆனந்தம் அண்ட் கம்பெனி, சார்ட்டர்ட் அக்கவுண்டன்ட்ஸ் அவர்களையும் இன்றைய சிறப்பு கலைஞர் ஸ்ரீ வினய் வாரணாசி அவர்களையும் மேடை கழைத்து வர அன்புடன் வேண்டுகின்றோம். மேடையில் வீற்றிருக்கும் சான்றோர்களுக்கும் வருகை தந்திருக்கும் அன்பர்களுக்கும் நல்வரவேற்பு. இன்றும் நாளையும் வித்தியாசமான நிகழ்ச்சி. உபன்யாசமும் இசையும் கலந்து ஆங்கிலத்தில் உரையாடி பக்தனுக்கும் கடவுளுக்கும் உள்ள தெய்வீக நட்பை விவரிக்கும் சுவாரஸ்யமான மேடையை காண உள்ளோம். ஸ்ரீ வினய் லக்ஷ்மி வாரணாசி அவர்கள் ஒரு சிறந்த பேச்சாளர். சனாதன தர்மம் பற்றி கதை சொல்லும் விதம், இசை இவற்றின் சங்கமத்தில் ஒரு தனித்துவமான மேடை நிகழ்ச்சியினை வழங்குகின்றார். நமது கலாச்சாரங்களை சுவாரஸ்யமான கதைகள் மூலம் உயிர்ப்பிக்கின்றார். ராமாயணம், மகாபாரதம் மற்றும் புராணங்களில் இருந்து கதைகள், குறியீடுகள், தத்துவங்கள் எக்காலத்திற்கும் பொருத்தமானது என்று நம்புகின்றார். ஸ்ரீ வினய் வாரணாசி தெலுங்கு மண்ணை சேர்ந்தவர். தற்பொழுது பெங்களூரில் குடியிருப்பு. நிகழ்ச்சிகளுக்காக உலகம் சுற்றும் வாலிபர். டிசைன் அண்ட் ஆர்கிடெக்சர் முறையான தொழில் பின்னணி கொண்டவர். பாரம்பரிய இசை பாடலாசிரியர், ஓவியர், ஸ்கிரந்தர், கதை சொல்லி. குரு ஸ்ரீமதி காசி விசாலாட்சியிடம் வீணை வாசிக்க கற்றுக்கொண்டார். அவரின் உந்துதல் பாடல்களின் ஆற்றலை உணர்ந்தார். சம்ஸ்கிருதம், தெலுங்கு, கன்னடத்தில் பாடல்கள் எழுத துவங்கினார். இவரது பாடல் வரிகளை ரஞ்சினி, காயத்ரி போன்ற சிறந்த இசை கலைஞர்கள் இசையமைத்து பாடியுள்ளார்கள். இன்று ஸ்ரீ விவேக் சதாசிவத்தின் இசை ஆதரவுடன் நிகழ்ச்சியினை ஸ்ரீ வினய் இன்று வழங்குகின்றார். கர்நாடக பாரம்பரிய இசை பாடகரான ஸ்ரீ விவேக் சதாசிவம் அவர்கள் இசையில் மும்மூர்த்திகளில் ஒருவரான நடஜோதி ஸ்ரீ முத்துசுவாமி தீட்சிதர் அவர்களின் சிஷ்ய பரம்பரையைச் சேர்ந்தவர். ஸ்ரீ விவேக் அவர்களின் கொள்ளுத்தாத்தா கல்லடைக்குறிச்சி ஸ்ரீ அனந்தகிருஷ்ணன் ஐயர் அவர்கள் ஸ்ரீ முத்துசுவாமி தீட்சிதரின் கொள்ளு பேரன் ஸ்ரீ அம்பி தீட்சிதர் அவர்களின் முதன்மை சீடராவார். ஸ்ரீ விவேக் அவர்கள் 3 வயதில் இசையை பயில துவங்கினார். சிறந்த இசை கலைஞர்களான இவரது பெற்றோர்கள் இவரது இசை பயணத்தை ஊக்குவித்தார்கள். தீட்சிதர் இசை பள்ளியில் இருந்ததால் தீட்சிதர்களின் பாடலை கற்கும் வாய்ப்பு இவருக்கு கிடைத்தது. ருத்ரப்பட்டினம் சகோதரர்களில் வித்வான் ஸ்ரீ ருத்ரப்பட்டினம் தியாகராஜன் அவர்களிடம் இசையை கற்றுக்கொள்ள தொடங்கினார். மிருதங்கத்தின் மீதும் ஏற்பட்ட ஈர்ப்பு. வித்வான் ஸ்ரீ அர்ஜுனன் அவர்களிடமிருந்து அடிப்படைகளை தெரிந்து கொண்டார். பண்டிட் நாகராஜராவ் ஹவால்தார் அவர்களிடம் இந்துஸ்தானி பாட பயிற்சிகள் பெற்றார். வித்வான் ஸ்ரீ சஞ்சய் சுப்பிரமணியம் அவர்களிடத்து பயின்று மேலும் மெருகேற்றிக் கொண்டார். வயலின் மாஸ்ட்ரோ டாக்டர் எல் சுப்பிரமணியன் அவர்களால் நிகழ்ச்சியின் பல்வேறு அம்சங்களில் வழிகாட்டப்பட்டார். To welcome our artist, we are honored to have Sri Vikramji as our chief guest today, a chartered accountant, partner of M. Anandam and Company, chartered accountants. He is a legal expert, always a gold medalist in his studies. In 2015, he started a group called Manthan at Hyderabad with more than 5,000 scholars as its members. Manthan is the only platform for researching public interest issues. He is also the secretary and trustee of M. Venkatarangaya Foundation. In the past 21 years, more than 13 lakh illiterate children have been enrolled in schools. He has a command over Hindi, English, Tamil, Telugu, Sanskrit, Kannada, Urdu. A true multilingualistic, an ardent music lover. He lived in Maratpalli, Secunderabad, and as he remembers his childhood, for almost 50 years has been a regular rasika of Sri Navami Cultural Festival, a kind-hearted well-wisher of our organization. We request Sri Vikramji to welcome our artist with a garland to our stage. Mudalil Sri Vinay Lakshmi Varanasi, storyteller. இசை துணை ஸ்ரீ விவேக் சதாசிவம் அவர்கள். வயலின் ஸ்ரீ S. ஜனார்தன் அவர்கள். மிருதங்கம் ஸ்ரீ Adamya ராமானந்த் அவர்கள். We thank the chief guest. We request our chief guest to address our audience.
Good evening, friends. Sri Vinay Varanasi. My old friend, Mr. Ramanand Malingam. and my good friend Sri Sri, as usual, wherever he is hiding. At the outset, I think I should thank the Sri Navami Cultural Festival for organizing this annual event for Hyderabad and Secunderabad. Personally, like what she mentioned, I am privileged to be associated with this festival right from my age of 10, so which means that I would have attended some 55 of these festivals, and I thank Mrs. Yuvastri's family for that. I think that we should congratulate the organization for its consistency of effort, for its dedication, and for putting together a string of world-class performances of discourses, drama, and music, and particularly for encouraging young talents and prodigies from South India. I must congratulate this organization for that. I know that we are going to get into a session of storytelling, but frankly, I think that this is a story that needs to be told repeatedly as to how this festival keeps all of us in Secunderabad and Hyderabad together for these 2 weeks for the whatever we call a smorgasbord of discussions and discourses. I also think, I have a very fond memory of this, but I also think that having this at the same venue for the past 64 years in Keys High School is also a privilege. The twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, I'm sure, will cherish this for many years and many decades to come. Storytelling has a rich tradition in India. All of us across religions have grown up, we're listening to the variety of tales of these epics, more particularly of Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Bhagavata. But I would like to mention here that there are many Ramayanas. The Gondi Ramayana, which I recently happened to be, I wouldn't say witness, but I happened to read a portion of it, have their own version of Ramayana, where Lakshmana is the protagonist, not Rama. He ends up marrying a tribal girl from the Gondi tribe in the Gondi Ramayana. There is an Adya Ramayana from Wayanad, and Sita, the tribal, is the one who Rama marries. And at the end of the Adya Ramayana, Rama and Lakshmana are tied to a pole, and Rama is made to apologize for abandoning Sita during her pregnancy. There is a Jain version of Ramayana where Ravana becomes a future Tirthankara. And finally, there is many Ramayana, but I would like to mention the Mapilla Ramayana in the Malabar region of the Muslims. And it's a fine example of how our culture has internalized across religions. As it is said by A.K. Ramanujam, the countless textual and oral versions of the tale of Rama are a little like the streams that flow towards the mighty Ramayana literature. Valmiki Ramayana, of course, remains the focus and occupies most of our mainstream imagination. While coming here, I was asking my son, what do you think of Rama? And I remember having my father asking the same question to another nephew of mine. My son said, Vakamata, Vakabanam, Vakasitamani Yelukunnadu. My father also, when he asked this question to my nephew some 30 years ago, he said the same thing. And I found it very interesting and I'm sure that if we would have had the same answer, if somebody asked this question 100 years ago or 500 or 1,000 years ago, that is the speciality of the hero whom we all worship and whom we are all there together. Storytelling itself was heralded by the Sutta community. And it is over the centuries, the Sutta community carried forward the oral tradition of transmitting epics. It is interesting to note that the Sutta community were also charioteers. Karna was, though he was a Kshatriya, was brought up as a Sutta. I think that there's a lesson here for all of us to learn, that the charioteer leads us to build our value system. I think that this is something which it's a skill which we need to learn. If I remember when I was in school in my town in Nellore, we were all asked to relate stories to our classrooms. And if there's one reason why my legs are not shaking on stage, it is because I've been practicing storytelling right from class 3 or class 4. I should also say that our epics are like gold, that they're very malleable and ductile. Our traditions make it very liberally possible. Over the centuries, these oral traditions have made little alterations, little modifications, small variations, added subtleties, which must have been added over the centuries, layer by layer, by these storytellers. It is well known that Mahabharata has many obvious interpolations. Even for an untrained reader like me, I can make out the original text and the interpolation. The text of Balakanda and Uttarakanda in Ramayana are very different from the other kandas. It is these embellishments, these variations that guarantee the longevity of the epic. And that is a point I would like to mention, that they make enduring reading, and in one sense they make the values they represent permanent and contemporary. So unlike Greek mythology or even Irish mythology or even Chinese and biblical mythology, which are one sort of a fixed in nature, our culture and religion permits us to have subtle variations over the ages. No wonder we have more than 300 Ramayanas. No wonder some of them are written as recent as in the 20th century, and all of them make interesting reading. The common thread, however, seems to be the character of Rama, as I just mentioned. I would also like to mention here our liberal view of storytelling permits us to fictionalize characters, epic characters in new settings, closer to our times. The famous film Mayavazar is an instance. It's a fine example of how the storyteller manages to use the characters of the epic to take a humorous view of events, which is definitely not there in the original. There are a large number of Telugu, Tamil, and even Marathi films. I am not familiar with the Kannada industry here, which used to use characters of our epics and create stories of tales of actually 20th century. We have communities like the Bauls of Bengal, like the Manganiyars of Rajasthan, like the Harikatha specialist of Andhra and Tamil Nadu, all combining music and storytelling in various local languages. I think they are the successors to the Sutta. Somehow I feel that these spaces seem to be shrinking, and we seem to be believing in single narration and single versions, very unlike our traditions which believed in diversity. The stories which we mentioned can be very complex and varied. I do not think that it is necessary for us to solve the question. I don't think we are good enough to solve the question. Do the epics represent history, or are they pieces of imagination of the great poets and storytellers? I think the truth lies somewhere in between. Maybe the events of Ramayana and Mahabharata happened in some stream of events in some diluted form. We don't know. Maybe it was pure fiction. Either way, it shouldn't matter. It makes great reading, and it teaches very valuable truths about society and about ourselves too. In this context, I would like to mention here an incident of what I witnessed of a South Kannada Sri Rama Navami festival many years ago. A person who was a village drunk was given the role of Rama, and he was given the character and dress of Rama to wear for those 9 days. He would not only stop drinking, he stopped eating non-vegetarian. But that is not the point. People fell at his feet and worshipped him as Rama during the term of the festival. Our society has a way of dealing with the mythology and a way of differentiating between the character and the person whom he is representing. The last thing I would like to mention here today is that in the context of liberalism, our culture and our diverse culture, I would say, gives us the ability to ask questions and events about the characters in the epics and find our own answers. I'll give you some examples. Was Rama right in provoking Sita to do the Agni Pravesa? Did Yudhishthira utter a lie in the Kurukshetra war? Was Hanuman a forgetful character? And I have instances for that. Was Vamana very unfair to the great Rakshasa Bali? I always thought that Vanaras were actually not Vanaras, but were local tribes trained in guerrilla warfare. I was fascinated by Sita admonishing Rama that he should not cause unnecessary harm to Rakshasas by being a slave to his weapons. I am sure these and many more questions each one of you has asked yourself and have answers to this. Our stories have thousands of stories. I'm glad today that we have a rising star and one of the finest exponents of storytelling with us on friendship. As Sugriva tells Rama on the value of friendship, Dukhita Sukhito Vapi Sukhar Nityam Sakhagati. A friend remains a friend both in sadness and in happiness. I'm sure that if you have Vishnu and Shiva as your friends, he'll be there with you both in sadness and happiness. I wish the speaker, the cultural festival, and this rich tradition which they are carrying all the best, and thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech. We request our President, Sri Venkatraman Garu, to honor our chief guest with a garland.
अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Namaskaram, Hyderabad. On the way here today, we realized something. If Hyderabad needs rain, you just need 4 Bangalore boys to come. Before we begin, just a small request. This is Bhagavad Katha that will be in progress. So if your Padarakshas can be next to you, you can leave them aside next to you. Otherwise, your mind will be with them and not us during the show. And if your cell phones can be on silent. Krishna ni begane baro, tondarga rave Krishna, come fast. That ask is a very powerful ask. Because in Sanatana Dharma, you will see that there are so many different ways to reach out and to connect to the divine. But amongst them, the most powerful and the most understated way is looking God eye to eye and saying, I'm establishing a connect with you. When you establish that connect, you can do it in so many different ways. You can say, you are my Mata Pita, I am your Vatsa. You can say, you are my Bhrata, I. You can build all of these connections. But amongst them, some connections are fundamentally very different. Because in each of them, there is a degree of distance. Even when we say parents, koncham untundi. There is a natural amount of distance between our parents and us, which is necessary. But there is one kind of special relationship which we can develop with Paramatma, through which all distance and all fear absolutely evaporates. That relationship is of friendship. That is what we call as Sakhyam. Because in Sakhyam, what happens is, Paramatma becomes a co-traveler with us in this journey of life. So we no longer fear him, we're not intimidated by his cosmic form. All of these are just our supernatural friend. That is why if you look in this Punya Bhumi of Bharatavarsham, you will see something very beautiful. Across Desha and across Kala, across space and across time, the kind of bhaktas who have built and honed a friendship with Paramatma are so many. And when we say Paramatma, there are so many different forms. But today, when we talk about Desha, when we talk about different Punya Kshetras in Bharatavarsha, we will explore some bhaktas who connected with Narayana there as their friend, as their Sakha. Tomorrow, I will talk about tomorrow, not now. When we look at where this starts, I think before we get into Desha Kala and all of these further descriptions, I think it's only fitting to pay homage to somebody who taught us how simply we just have to call out to him and he will come. This story that I'm going to share now is something that was told by Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And whenever he shared this story, it is said that he would go into Ananda Bashpal because the story brought him so much of joy. The story is a very long one, but I will tell you a condensed version of it. This is about a woman in a village, and when her son comes of age, she wants to send him to school, but the school is on the other side of a huge forest. So Avademo, she is on this side and the school is on the other side. She has to work in the farm. She cannot take her son every day to school, but he has to cross this scary forest. So after a few days of going, he says, Amma, I'm not going to go from tomorrow because it's very scary. So without any hesitation on her face, she said, Neekanta bhayam endukra? Why are you so scared? Don't you know? Me annaya akkade untadu. Ekkada? He says. Where does my brother live? I didn't know I had a brother. So she says, you have a brother in the forest. You just have to call out to him and he will come. He will drop you, much better than an Uber service. He will drop you and pick you up in the forest when you finish school, drop you back till here and he will go. So this boy also, with complete faith, listened and called out to his brother. And when he stepped into the forest, after calling out to his brother the next morning, he heard something. Some enchanting melody his brother seemed to be playing on the flute. And as soon as that boy called, the brother came running. And he said, did you call me? And this little boy, this boy's name is Gopala. And he said, Anna, I didn't know I had a brother in the forest. Every day will you drop me and pick me up from school? So the boy and his brother make a trip every day. This goes on for so many days. And it's the most special part of his journey to school is not school, it is the journey to school. So this bond, this friendship tightens between the two. And one day, Gopala tells his brother that tomorrow there is a feast in school and everybody is bringing something for the master. What can I take? Amma does not have enough money at home for a gift. So the brother says, Na pakre, you wait. So he goes inside the forest and he brings out a pot of curds and he said, you take this. So the boy Gopala is not very happy, but he has to take it. And when he goes to school, he's very embarrassed because all his friends have brought their teacher very fancy gifts. And this boy has taken a pot of curds. The teacher takes it anyway and he serves those curds during the lunch in that school. And much to his surprise, the curds don't finish. So the teacher goes straight to the little Gopala and he says, where did you get this magic pot from? So he says, my brother gave it to me. He said, you have a brother? I didn't know. He said, yeah, I also didn't know actually. And the teacher is very intrigued. He said, what do you mean you don't know? Tell me about your brother. So this boy describes his brother with a peacock feather in his hair, with a kasturi tilakam on him, with a vanamala on his neck, with a pattu pitambaram, holding a flute. And the master listens to this and he said, 100% you are delusional. Because the one you are describing is Krishna himself. That cannot be your brother. He said, no, he is my brother. He said, really? If this is really your brother, then take me to the forest and I want to see your brother. So Gopala and this teacher go marching to the forest. And when they're in the forest, his teacher says, now call your brother. And this boy calls.
Ra Nagadhara Ra Murahara Ra Bhavahara Ra Vera Ra Nagadhara Ra Murahara Ra Bhavahara Ra Vera Ee Maguvanu Ee Lalalanu Ee Sogasini Chekora Ee Maguvanu Ee Lalalanu Ee Sogasini Chekora Kalimpunda Yadamuni Yalda Chiranu Nichalda Maruvakura Karamulaje Mari Mari Nenu Sharanamedara Ravenu Gopabala Raju Desaguna Jaya Shila Ravenu Gopabala Raju Desaguna Jaya Shila Ravenu Gopala Raju Saguna Jayashila.
Here you are all there to clap. Nobody was there in the forest to clap for that performance. Because the boy called. And contrary to popular belief, Thapi ani swargam nunchi evvaru diggiraledu. The boy is waiting and the teacher is also waiting saying, Ekkadra mi annaya, where is that brother you spoke of? And nobody came. The boy started to cry. And at this point, the boy and the teacher heard a voice saying, all this while when Gopala used to come to the forest and he would call, he called not with any desire to prove me to anyone else, but simply to enjoy my company. That is why I came to him. Now, he came to prove that I exist. I don't need proof of my existence and I certainly don't need to give it to anybody. The teacher also heard this. And I think this is a very beautiful way to look at that relationship of intimacy with Paramatma. Because often And especially in today's time, we try to intellectualize this relationship. We try to brand ourselves, say, I belong to this school of thought, this is what I believe. And we are doing pracharam more than we are doing internalization of it. But in the path of bhakti, whichever margam of bhakti it is, the intimacy that is formed remains between these two. And that can blossom in so many different ways. There is a very beautiful conversation that happens in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This happens between Parikshit and Shuka Maharaja. When Shuka Yogindra is talking to him about Rasa Leela, at that point, Parikshit says, all the gopikas looked at Krishna with kama and they attained mukti. How is this all right? They didn't even think of him as Paramatma. And that is when Shuka Yogindra says, Kamam, Krodham, Sneham, Bhayam, Sauhridam. All of these, whichever attitude you look at Paramatma towards, all of these will take you towards him. That is why you count all of these categories, they're not only positive. Kamam, Krodham, you get angry at him, then also you'll go to him. Ravanasura is an example. Kamsa is an example. Kamsa is an example of Bhayam. But each category, it is just about turning the human emotion towards him. And in Sakhya Bhakti, it's not always gentle emotions, which is what we will explore today. For us, friendship can mean joyous, delightful things. But friendship can also be struck in the most unexpected of moments. And I think being in this Punya Kshetram, I cannot but help tell you a story of the Mahakshetram, the Mahabilam, where Swami resides as Narasimha. Which is that Bilam? Ahobilam. In that Ahobilam, Swami eternally dwells and he can be seen. So there was one phenomenal Upasaka who went to the Ahobilam forests, which today we are destroying with so much of plastic being scattered here and there, but this was in times when we knew how to respect Prakriti. So when this Yogeshwara goes to Ahobilam, he's deep in tapas, not for days, not for weeks, but for months together. And when he's sitting there in tapas, there is somebody from the local tribe, a hunter from the local tribe, who sees this man in tapas for so long. So he comes to him one day, and when he's taking a small break from his tapas, he asks him, who are you doing tapas for? What are you doing? He doesn't even say, who are you doing tapas for? He says, what are you doing? So this Yogendra looks at this hunter and he says, Konja language simplify pannittu solrena. I'll just tone it down because how can I explain these complicated terms to him? So he says, I'm looking for somebody. Then he asks him, who are you looking for? So this Yogendra thinks and he wonders, how do I describe to him who I'm looking for? Because that one that I'm looking for, there are so many different ways to describe him. Potana described him so beautifully, described that form, that lion that roams in the forests of Ahobilam so beautifully. He said, Shankha Chakra Gada Khadga Kunta Tomara Pramukha Nanayuda Mahita Mahotunga Mahidhara Shringa Sannibha Veera Sagara Velayamana Malika Virajamana Nirargala Aneka Shata Bhujargalundunu Manju Manjira Manja Manipunja Ranjita Manjula Hara Keyura Kankana Kirita Makarkundala Bhushana Bhushitundunu Trivali Yuta Shikari Shikaraba Parinadha Bandhura Kandharundunu Prakampana Kampita Parijata Pallava Pratikasha Kopavesha Sanchalitarthanundunu Sharatkala Megajala Madhya Thagathagayamana Tatillata Samana Dedipyamana Damshtrakarundunu. That is the kind of feeling that bhaktas have when they think about this Mahasimham. So, this Yogendra simplified that and he said, I'm looking for a lion who roams around here. So this this hunter is very intrigued. Lion, here. Where? I don't know, somewhere over here. He says, oh. He goes away. This Yogendra resumes his tapas. One day later, when the Yogendra opens his eyes, he sees, to his surprise, the hunter is coming. And the hunter is coming with a rope, meaning he has tied some creature with a rope. The Yogendra is looking in shock as the creature that he has tied is Narasimha himself. The Yogendra pulls back and he says, what is this? What did you do? How did you find him? He said, you only said, no, he is here somewhere. So everywhere I started to look, I was looking for him. Then he only said, I'm right here. So I caught him and I brought him. That is how simple yet powerful Sakhya Bhakti is. That hunter forges a relationship with Narasimha. So the Yogendra wonders, for so long I did tapas, I did not see him, but the hunter just had to look around and he found him. And then Swami responds saying, that's the key. You just have to look around and you can find me. You don't have to get into complex methodologies. This is not to do any tiraskara to the tapas itself. That is a necessary prakriya for our minds. But when we are on this sarala margam, the easiest margam is to look around and see, wherever you see, you look for him. Then wherever you see, whoever you are connected to, they are all him. Mata Nrsimhascha Pita Nrsimha, Swami Nrsimhascha Sakha Nrsimha. Everything, Sakalam Nrsimha. But when do you get into that state? When you are ready to love him.
Mata Narasimha Pita Narasimha Mata Narasimha Pita Narasimha Mata Narasimha Pita Narasimha Bhrata Narasimha Sakha Narasimha Bhrata Narasimha Sakha Narasimha Vidya Narasimha Vidya Narasimha Dravinam Narasimha Vidya Narasimha Dravinam Narasimha Swami Narasimha Sakalam Narasimha Swami Narasimha Sakalam Narasimha
Swami Nrsimha, Sakalam Nrsimha. Then, in front of you, behind you, on your left, on your right, everywhere you look, you see him only. You call him Narasimha, you call him Rama, you call him Krishna, you call him Vithala. Whatever you call him, you become obsessed with him because he is all around and he is the only one you can see.
ಹಿಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ ಮುಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ ಹಿಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ ಮುಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ ವಿಠಲ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ 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 ಸಲಹೋ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿಠಲ ಸಲಹೋ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಎಡಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಠಲ ಬಲಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಠಲ ಎಡಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಠಲ ಬಲಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಠಲ ಎಡಕ್ಕೆ ಬಲಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಠಲ 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 ಸಲಹೋ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ತಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ ತಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ ತಾಯಿ ವಿಠಲ ತಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ ತಾಯಿ ವಿಠಲ ತಂದೆ ವಿಠಲ ತಾಯಿ ವಿಠಲ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿ ವಿಠಲ ವಿಠಲ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲ ವಿಠಲ ಸಲಹೋ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿಠಲ ಸಲಹೋ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿಠಲ ಸಲಹೋ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ
Vithala came means we have to take a flight to Pandharpur. Because this form of Krishna, this form of Narayana is exquisite. This form alone has had such unique relationships with his bhaktas that if we just enter their Katha Sagaram, we will drown in that world of bhakti. We will get drenched in it. Because in Vithala Bhakti Sampradayam, you will see something very beautiful. Nobody is afraid of Vithala. Everybody talks to him. Not just talks, they scold him, they fight with him. They have such beautiful relationships. Amongst them, there are so many phenomenal bhaktas. But one bhakta of Vithala, Namadeva, as so many of you know, Vithala had a very beautiful relationship with Namadeva. So many times, he would come to Namadeva's house to eat. So there is one occasion when he came, and Namadeva had a dasi by name Janabai. Janabai was also a phenomenal Vithala bhakta in her own right. And we see so many conversations around how Vithala was when he came, what did he eat, all of these are recorded in some of their abhangs. It's very beautiful. But there's this one very heartwarming instance and at the same time slightly confusing story where Vithala has come to Namadeva's house and Janabai is observing this. Janabai works in this house. Janabai has been taking care of Namadeva since the time Namadeva was a child. So Janabai is watching. Vithala has come. Namadeva has taken him inside. Namadeva's mother, Namadeva's wife, Namadeva's sister, Namadeva's children. All of them are around Vithala and everybody is eating except Janabai. So Janabai writes an abhang in which she says, everybody is invited except this Jana. So she is very upset. And that's when she writes this composition. The dinner is over. Vithala goes and Janabai comes to clean the plates and everything, all the leftovers. And as she is doing this, Namadeva and his family have gone to sleep. Janabai and Namadeva had a very respectful relationship towards each other. It was not a relationship where she was mistreated. But in this instance, she's feeling bad. So they have all gone and she's cleaning and then there is a knock on the door. So Janabai goes to answer. Here there is a knock on the cell phone. But when Janabai goes to answer, she finds that it is Vithala. She looks at him and she's really not in a mood now. And he looks at her and he says, Jana, won't you ask me to come in? And she says, for what? He said, Jana, I'm hungry. Ah, that you never thought of, no, when you were nicely eating with Namadev and family? Now you're hungry. And Vithala responded saying, Jana, I ate only 2 morsels of food because my Jana was not invited for that dinner. Jana was still not in a mood. She said, oh, so much karunyam, is it? There is nothing to eat. This was pre-Swiggy days. So what would they do? She said, I don't have atta at home to make you roti. He said, come, we'll make the atta together. So Janabai said, if you really want that food, come and earn that food. Because a few hours ago, you completely forgot about Janabai. Now prove to this Janabai that you care about me. So she took him in front of the grinding stone and for hours together they sat and did chakki pisi and made atta and then she cooked for him and then she fed him. And then she told him, you seem to be doing a good job of this. Why don't you come back tomorrow night also and help me with all this housework? So therefore, a very beautiful relationship emerges with Janabai and Vithala and you can see this till date. If you go to the village where Janabai is born and you go to Pandharpur, there are statues of Vithala and Janabai facing each other where all night long, this is what they sit and do. They sit and in mundane activities, they find each other. Janabai, there is one beautiful abhang she writes in which she says, Janabai is sitting and her hair is oiled and just at that moment, the one who has Navanita in his hands, he comes from the mandiram of Pandharpur. He comes. The whole world is looking at him in awe. This is Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda. Janabai looks at him and she says, perfect timing, come and wash my hair. And Vithala looks at her and he says, I have to wash your hair. She says, yeah, I don't have a mother, I don't have a father. Who else is going to do all this for me? You do. And that is the kind of intimacy that they have. The intimacy that allows them not only to be gentle, to trouble him and to make him do domestic tasks for and with her, but the intimacy, there is one instance when Janabai calls Vithala and he doesn't respond. At that point, Janabai writes a very stern abhang in which she goes on to insult Vithala to the level that she says, Vithala, your dead body is there in that mandiram of Pandharpur. I'm calling it a dead body because there's no spandana in it. It doesn't know how to respond to me. So ask that wife of yours at least to tell you to put some pranam into you. This is the kind of indirect ninda stutis that she would write, expressing her deep emotions. The bhavam are not always, they don't have to always be positive towards Paramatma. They emerge from the heart and they go straight to him unfiltered because there's no fear. And when Janabai spoke like this, her influence is also Namadeva. Namadeva himself is a phenomenal Vitthala Bhakta. The way he writes about Vitthala, he says, Ghalin lotangana vandina charana. I'm looking at those beautiful feet of yours. Dolyanupahina rupa tuzhe. That rupam, that Divyamangala rupam of yours is in front of my eyes. Ghalin lotangana vandina charana dolyanupahina rupa tuzhe. Preme alingina ananda pujina bhaveyuvalena mane nama. I want to hug you with all my heart, O Vitthala. That is how moved this Nama is. I know many of you recognize this lyric from a very different context. They play it in Indian TV serials when that pregnant Bahu will be falling down the stairs. That time they'll play Ghalin lotangana vandina charana dolyanupahina rupa tuse. But that's really not the bhavam. The bhavam is a very heartfelt one. It's a very soft one that comes when somebody has gone to that level of intimacy. It's not a murti. It's not a Vigraham, it's my Paramatma. As much as you see this with Namadeva, with Janabai, you see this with one Bhakta, but this Bhakta's story is as heart-wrenching as it is moving. Because in this story is a Bhakta who is not allowed to go close to his Vitthala. He cannot enter that mandiram because the norms prohibit him from stepping into the temple. But the love, that bond is so strong that he wants to go in. But he cannot go. So every day he goes and stands outside the mandiram of Pandharpur just to see maybe he can catch a glimpse of Vitthala inside. But he cannot step foot in. So one night, Vitthala takes notice. Vitthala takes notice always, eternally. He's watching his bhaktas. And one night, after the temple is shut and everybody has gone away, from inside, this bhakta is standing outside, and from inside the mandiram, one call comes for this bhakta. This call is saying, come inside. The bhakta is hesitating because he knows he is not allowed, but he's hesitating at the same time he wants to go.
Anam dadanam danam da anam tatta.
Vitthala understands the predicament, but Vitthala will not take no as an answer. So he calls again saying, come, don't worry about anything, just step foot into my mandiram. What will everybody say? What will happen to me if they catch me inside the temple? Am I allowed? Am I not allowed? So much of social conditioning. But Vitthala, what does he do? As the tussle between Bhakta and Bhagavan increases, the Bhakta slowly starts to give way because his pull is magnetic. Krishna means Karshana Shakti Unnavadu, the one who pulls, and that Bhakta slowly gets pulled and something very beautiful emerges from here.
ആനന്ദാനന്ദാനന്ദാനം ദും ദും ദദാനം ദും ദദാനം ദാ. ആനം ദും ദദാനം 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 ദാനം ദാ. ആനന്ദാനന്ദാനം ദാ. ആനന്ദാനം ദും ദും ദദാനം ദാനം ദും ദാ. ആനന്ദദാനം ദനം ദാ. ആനന്ദനം ദാ. ആനം ആനം नाथा घरी नाचे माझा सखा पांडुरंग. नाथा घरी नाचे माझा सखा पांडुरंग. नाथा घरी नाचे माझा सखा पांडुरंग. अभीर गुलाल उधळीत रंग. अभीर गुलाल उधळीत रंग रंग रंग. अभीर गुलाल उधळीत रंग. नाथा घरी नाचे माझा सखा पांडुरंग. नाथा घरी नाचे माझा सखा पांडुरंग. उंबरठ्यासी कैसी शिव आम्ही जातीहीन. उंबरठ्यासी कैसी शिव आम्ही जातीहीन. रूप तुझे कैसे पाहू त्यात आम्ही दीन. रूप तुझे कैसे पाहू त्यात आम्ही दीन.
रूप तुझे कैसे पाहूं त्यात आम्ही दीन. How can I come close to you when I am a lower being? That conditioning which is imposed on this bhakta pulls him back. When he went in, he was dancing and putting gulal on his Panduranga. Abhira gulala udhalitaranga natha ghari nache maza sakha with my friend I am playing. But now that recognition that no, I can't do it. I belong to an inferior category of beings. But when you are standing in front of the being from where love emanates, all these conditionings imposed by society, imposed by the world outside, all these are forgotten and one goes back to that dance of abandon.
पाय ऋषि हो दंग गाओनी अभंग. पाय ऋषि हो दंग गाओनी अभंग. पाय ऋषि हो दंग गाओनी अभंग. नाथा घरी नाचे माझा सखा पांडुरंग. अभीर गुलाल उधळीत रंग. अभीर गुलाल उधळीत रंग रंग रंग. अभीर गुलाल उधळीत रंग. नाथा घरी नाचे माझा सखा पांडुरंग. गरी नादे मला सखा पांडुरंग पांडुरंग विठ्ठल 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 विठ्ठल
That is the dance of joy. The kind of intimacy here is about one that challenges and altogether asks us to let go of everything that the world outside may say, may not say. This is that moment when we can come and be with him. And that is Vitthala, that is Bhagavan. That pull is so strong that we can't resist it. Now, if we look at this Bhakta's journey, Chokkamela, this Bhakta is none other than Chokkamela, whose life on earth had a host of hardships associated with it. But, and this is the underlined part, none of that took away his love for Vitthala. Chokkamela was not allowed into the temple. Despite that, despite this incident also, he's still not allowed. And many, many years later, an incident happens when Chokkamela is away from Pandharpur. He is a daily wage laborer. Also sharing the story in the interest that bhakti is not always about a glamorous idea, as I have said periodically, that we're sitting in a puja room and there is cycle agarbatti and there's just one vigraham and us. No, bhakti is in the mundane moments, keeping him with us then. That is bhakti. And this Chokkamela, who was erecting a wall was being constructed and he was one of the daily wage laborers there. There, his Vitthala bhakti was untouched, unmoved by anything else. Vitthala bhakti is inside, all this external work is outside. That wall collapsed. And it fell on so many of those workers, killing them instantly, crushing them to death. Chokkamela was one of them who died over there. Moved back to the temple of Pandharpur, 2 years or 3 years after this happened. One day, Namadeva, who we just spoke about, is sitting in dhyana and Vitthala appears and says, "Bring me Chokkamela's bones from the place, from Mahad, where the wall collapsed on him." So Namadeva said, "Swami, it has been over 2 or 3 years now since that wall has collapsed. There will be so many bones of so many people. How will I know which ones belong to Chokkamela and how should I bring them?" Vitthala smiled and he said, "The answer is very simple. Pick up the bone, put it next to your ear. If that bone is saying Vitthala, 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 that is Chokkamela. That is how you identify that bhakta." And sure enough, that is done. And today, if you go to the temple of Pandharpur, you will see, before you enter the mandiram of Rakumaipati, you will see that there is a bust of Chokkamela. Under that is where his bones are buried. That is testimony to how no structure, no social conditioning can keep away a bhakta from the Lord. And this story talks about how he's always listening to what his devotees need. And his listening is very natural to him. He's very, very attentive. But when he is attentive to his devotees, sometimes he may forget about those around him. Who is around him in Vaikuntham? So much doubt you don't need to have. I know you know the answer. Tell me. Adisesha is there. Vehicle is there. Dharmapatni is there. So, Dharmapatni is also equally keen on listening to the bhaktas. But the protagonist of our show this evening sometimes is so lost in bhakta kathas because he himself is such a beautiful form to look at. He looks like a sapphire. He is glowing. And that glow attracts bhaktas to him and attracts him to bhaktas. That is why one bhakta compared him not to 1, 2 or 3 gems, but all the Navaratnas. Let's see what that bhakta has to say before moving into a very beautiful episode connected to Swami.
కాళింగుని తలలపై గప్పిన పుష్యరాగము ఏలేటి శ్రీ వెంకటాద్రి యుగనీలము కాళింగుని తలలపై గప్పిన పుష్యరాగము ఏలేటి శ్రీ వెంకటాద్రి యుగనీలము పాలజల నిధిలో పాలజల నిధిలోన బాయని దివ్యరత్నము పాలజల నిధిలోన బాయని దివ్యరత్నము బాలుని వలె తిరిగే పద్మనాభుడు బాలుని వలె తిరిగే పద్మనాభుడు బాలుని వలె తిరిగే పద్మనాభుడు ముద్దుగారే యశోద ముంగిట మోద్యము వీడు దిద్దరాని మహిమల దేవకీ సుతుడు ముద్దుగారే యశోద ముంగిట మోద్యము వీడు దిద్దరాని మహిమల దేవకీ సుతుడు దేవకీ సుతుడు దేవకీ సుతుడు.
Yeleti Sri Venkatadri Indranilamu, that blue sapphire that glows on top of that divine hill, Venkatachalam, that gem is a special one. Because there, Kalau Venkatanayaka, we say that in this Kali Yuga, that is the Pratyaksha Daivam that listens. And he listens so attentively, as I said. Sometimes he listens at the cost of those who are around. So there is a very beautiful story connected to how once, as Swami, along with Sri Devi and Bhudevi, stepped out of the Pradhana Mandiram. And when they step out, as they go through the sacred forests, the groves, the vanas of Tirumala, they decide to play ball with each other. And Sri Devi, Bhudevi and Swami busy playing ball with each other. There is one ball that is being thrown and caught between these 3 people. Sri Devi takes the ball at one instance and she throws it. He catches it and in 1 second he is very distracted. So he says, okay, second. And he turns around and he's gone. He comes back very embarrassedly in a few minutes. He takes the ball and he throws it back. Both Sri Devi and Bhudevi don't catch. Both look at the ball and say, what ball is that? He says, we were just playing ball, no? I'm throwing that ball back. That's not the ball we threw at you. You went somewhere else, did something else, came back, created a new ball and threw it at us. Don't think we don't know. So he responded saying, when Bhakta was calling, when a Bhakta is calling, what can I do? I have to go. So Sri Devi Bhudevi responds saying, when a Bhakta is calling, as if we want to be here, we also want to come with you. And then they remind him of that instance in Vaikunthapuramu, when he suddenly heard one Bhakta calling, one elephant calling, and immediately he left without telling her, and she had told him when he came back. don't do that again. Because she is his karunyam. She is that karunamritam that has to come out of him. So they always go together. But this very beautiful episode where Sridevi and Bhudevi have mock anger towards him also shows how there is so much of friendship in this bond that they are not saying, oh, Paramatma. They are also saying, Paramatma, but he doesn't have to forget about us when he goes elsewhere. And this beautiful episode, if you go 6 days after Vaikuntha Ekadashi, you will see this Utsavam is enacted in Tirumala till date, where Malayappa Swami, Sridevi and Bhudevi play ball, and then the ball is thrown from Devi to Swami, and when it falls down, both the Devis, Sridevi and Bhudevi, walk inside the temple and the temple doors are shut. So then Malayappa Swami has to come to the door and negotiations begin, saying, please let me back in. And when these negotiations begin, it's very, very beautiful, because here is where a bhakta has a chance to forget that it is Paramatma and to negotiate on behalf of Paramatma. We negotiate with Paramatma on behalf of the world, saying, give me this, give me that. But imagine going as Paramatma's lawyer now, and this bhakta, the same bhakta who wrote this Mudugare Yashoda, that Talapaka Annamacharya, stood at Alamelumanga's door and he negotiated with her, saying, Amma, don't be angry, Amma, because any karyam he does only for you. When he became Varaha, it was to pick you up. When he became Rama, it was to take you back from Lanka. In each, he takes each of the Dasha Avatarams as an example, and he says that Avataram actually he took only for you. And look at this beautiful moment between a Bhakta, the lawyer now, the representative of Perumal, and Tayar, the mother, who is equally annoyed with him, with Perumal, but equally gracious towards the Bhakta.
Ammamma mamma ammamma mamma alamel manga Nanjarama Ammamma ye mamma alamel manga Nanjarama Ammamma ye mamma alamel manga Nanjarama Ammamma ye mamma alamanga Nanjarama Ammamma ye mamma alamel manga Nanjarama tamigida nalarukumma Ammamma ye mamma alamel manga Nanjarama tamigida nalarukumma oyamma Ammamma ye mamma alamel manga Nanjarama tamigida nalarukumma oyamma Ammamma ye mamma చకదనముల పెంచి సకలముగాదలంచి చకదనముల పెంచి సకలముగాదలంచి నికపు వెంకటేశుడు నీకే పొంచినే చకదనముల పెంచి సకలముగాదలంచి నికపు వెంకటేశుడు నీకే పొంచినే మకువతో అలమేల్ మంగ నాంచారమ్మ మకువతో అలమేల్ మంగ నాంచారమ్మ అక్కుననాదని నేడే అలరించవమ్మ అక్కుననాదని నేడే అలరించవమ్మ అమ్మమ్మ ఏమమ్మ అలమేల్మంగనాచారమ్మ తమిగిడ నలరూపమ్మ ఓయమ్మ అమ్మమ్మ ఏమమ్మ అలమేల్మంగనాచారమ్మ తమిగిడ నలరూపమ్మ తమిగిడ నలరూపమ్మ
You will see variations of this Kalahotsavam that happens in different mandirams. Tomorrow is the sacred Panguni Uttaram. The same thing in its slightly different format will happen in Srirangam. So there also he has to negotiate. Simply he will not get entry into Ranganayaki's home. He will have to negotiate, stand on the other side, beg and plead. And these are the relationships that humanize the divine. These are the relationships that we can catch on to because we have a frequency of connecting to these emotions very fast. We can easily tease. And when we realize, oh, Paramatma can also be teased, Paramatma is teased by his own family members, then we will not feel bad or no hesitation to do this. When we speak like this of Perumal and Tayar, of Swamivaru and Ammavaru, and the beautiful way in which they tease each other, there is a very beautiful conversation that happens between Rukmini and Krishna in the Krishna Karnamritam. Over here, one day when Rukmini is sitting with him, she says, Krishna, whole world is remembering one instance. What is that instance? That once, when it was raining, you went, you picked up one small little hillock. And because you picked up that little bit, that little hillock, Tenatvam divi bhutale cha satatam govardhanodharakaha. After that, divi bhutalam, from antarikshas till bhutalas, everybody is saying, oh, govardhanodharakaha, govardhanodharakaha. You picked up the Govardhana mountain, you picked up the Govardhana mountain. What is the big deal in this, if I may ask you? You have picked up the three worlds, you have picked up Govardhana. Big deal. You know why? Because I have picked you up in my heart. But nobody is giving me any credit for it. Anyway, kim va keshava bhashanena bahuna punyair yasho labhyate. Only those who are lucky, they will only get credit, not people like me. What a beautiful way of trivializing this entire accomplishment of picking up this mountain, which was Bhakta Rakshana, and she teases him, but also highlights a very beautiful truth, that Paramatma is all powerful, all glorious, but it is in a Bhakta's heart that he shines. The same Janabai that we spoke of earlier, at some point when she's fighting deeply with Vithala, he says, Janabai, the rest of the world calls me Bhagavan. And she said, aha, what is the route to know Bhagavan? He said, Bhakti. She said, I have Bhakti in my heart. Bhakti is greater than Bhagavan, so you keep your mouth shut. You don't say anything. Because it is through Bhakti alone that light falls on him and that his light reaches us. So that Margam you can explore in so many different ways. There is one version of the Ramayana in which the moment comes when Rama, Sita and Lakshmana are starting their Vanavasam and they come across a river, and at that point a boatsman takes them to the other side. Who is that? Guha. Now in this version it's very beautiful where Guha enters the scene and he looks and he says, Sitammana, okay. Lakshmana Swamina, okay. He looks at Ramachandra and he said, Swami, meer koncha doubt. Rama said, why? Guha says, no, I don't think you can come into my boat. So Rama says, what did I do? He said, you didn't do anything right now, but you have a reputation. It is said that wherever your feet go, you convert stones into women. Whatever your feet touch, they become women. Now, I have only one boat for my livelihood. If this becomes a woman and goes off, what will happen about my daily wage? So you don't step in. So Rama smiles and he says, so is there no way out? I can't come into your boat. He said, no, I didn't say that. I said, it is your padadhuli that makes all of this happen. Your padadhuli touched a stone and that became Ahalya. So your padadhuli is causing all this trouble. No, I'll do one thing. I'll wash your feet And all that padadholi will go. Once I wash your feet, you step into my boat, O Ramachandra. This is a beautiful bhavam, an expression of bhakti that comes along with that teasing. Whether he's Rama, whether he's Krishna, whether he's Vithala, Narasimha, you can afford these moments with him. Because in these moments, you realize these avatarams are prema avatarams. They're avatarams that come just for us to go closer to him. There is constant discussion in the world of philosophy, of abstractness, saying, but we are above all of this. Yes, we may be as beings, we are eternally Satchidananda Swarupam, but Namam and Rupam help us connect and recognize that Satchidananda Tattvam. So to bring all of this together, can we invite you to join us in a brief Nama Sankirtanam where we call out to him with that bhavam of bhakti and recognize that he's with us as our friend before we proceed? It's a question you have to say yes because you're a captive audience.
Krishnam Vishnum Sridharam Madhavam Madhusudanam 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 Govindam 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 Sri Ramam 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 Raghupate 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 Hare Ramam Ramam Raghupate Ramam Ramam Raghupate Krishnam Vishnum Sridharam Madhavam Madhusudanam Krishnam Vishnum Sridharam Krishnam Vishnum Sridharam Madhavam Madhusudanam Govindam 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 Sri Ramam Govindam 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 Sri Ramam 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 Raghupate 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 Hare Ramam Ramam Raghupate Hare Ramam Ramam Raghupate Krishnam Vishnum Sridharam Madhavam Madhusudanam Krishnam Vishnum Sridharam Madhavam Madhusudanam Govindam 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 Sri Ramam Govindam 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 Sri Ramam 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 Raghupate 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 Hare Ramam Ramam Raghupate Hare Ramam Ramam Raghupate Hare Ramam Ramam Raghupate Ramam Ramam Raghupate. Thank you.
When we look at different ways of striking a relationship, Namam is one of the most easy ways because Namam requires nothing but just repetition. In Namam is Paramatma's Bija Tattvam. Through Namam, Rupam emerges. The more we focus on Namam, the more that Namam comes and takes care of us. In fact, there is a very beautiful conversation that Tulsidas makes in the Ramacharita-manas, in which he says, which is greater, Rama's Rupam or Rama's Namam? Rama's Rupam, the form of Rama, this Rama that you see in front of you, this Rama is the king of Ayodhya. But this Rama Namam, it is the king of every Jiva's heart. So the Namam is greater. This Rama, he built a bridge from here to, it's okay, it's Vasanta Ritu, Chaitra Masam, good time to do little bit Ramayana Smaranam. Built a bridge to, sure, no? Lanka only, no? Not Maldives, right? Then you tell me confidently. Built a bridge to Lanka. But this Namam builds a bridge from here to Moksha Loka. So this Namam is greater. Every episode he cites, he says the Namam is greater because the Namam has that inherent power. That Namam has the power to make the Rupa move and come for a Bhakta. And when we talk to that Namam, you can see so many different things. Purandaradasa says so beautifully, he says, Swami, Ninnanta Swami, Neelanti Swami, Yenaguntu Ninagilla, Nakunnadu Neekledu. I have a Swami as great as you. You don't have anyone. Ninnanta Tande, Yenaguntu Ninagilla, Neelanti Tandri, Nakunnadu Neekledu. Neelanti Rajudu, Ninnanta Doreyu, Yenaguntu Ninagilla. So he gives all these beautiful instances and says, I have a wonderful father, you don't. I have a wonderful king, you don't. I have a wonderful Swami, you don't. Nane Swadeshi, Nine Paradeshi. I am the one who belongs here, I have all the bandhus, you don't have anybody. Ninna Pattadarasi, Lakumi, Enna Thai. Ni Pattapurani aa Mahalakshmi, naaku amma avutundi. Nee ammanu chuvinchara, show me your mother. Ninna Taiya Toro Purandara Vithala, you can't. And this is what makes us think, oh, so the Bhakta is richer than Bhagavan. The Bhakta owns Bhagavan. We have this very common phrase that is used in different sampradayams saying, Dasudki Dasu. The idea is a Dasa's Dasa. But very beautifully Shiva says in one occasion, simply because I said Shiva, don't frown, saying, Ayo, today is only Vishnu Sakhyam. They are two peas in a pod, to put it very beautifully. So, Shiva says in one very beautiful context, saying that this Namam I utter because it reminds me of my beautiful friendship with him. This Namam makes his feet appear in front of my eyes. That is the fondness that they have for each other. And I think to talk about those padas that stepped into Guha's boat, that pada dhuli through which Ahalya's Shapa Shamanam happened, and those padas that ultimately all we need is for those padas to touch here once. If you look at Krishna's Swarupam, one bhakta said so beautifully, he said, Yogindranam tvadangeshuhu adhika sumadhuram. For all yogis, every anga of you is beautiful when they do dhyanam of you, but adhika sumadhuram, the most nectarine form amongst them, Yogindranam tvadangeshu sumadhuram mukti bhajam nivaso. Though that space where all those aspiring for mukti and those who have attained mukti, they all reside there. Mukti bhajam nivaso bhaktanam kamavarshadhyut tarukisalayam. That part of your body, those limbs of your body, which entirely give bhaktas everything they want, bhaktanam kamavarshadhyut tarukisalayam nathate padamulam, the soles of your feet. So what should you do with the soles of those feet? Nityam chittassthitam me pavanapurapate Krishna karunya sindho hritva nisheshatapan pradishatu paramananda sandoha Lakshmi. Come just once and touch my heart with those feet. If you just touch and go, all the adhyatmika, adibhautika, adidevika tapas all will go. And what will I get? Paramananda sandoha Lakshmi. I will get that moksha Lakshmi's anugraham. For this all, what do you have to do? Just come once and touch with those chinna padam. That is all I'm asking for. That is why the padas are beautiful. How do you focus on those padas? Through Nama. That is why we did Nama Sankirtanam before we do Rupa Pada Sankirtanam now for you.
அரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ அரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ உந்தல் அரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ உந்தல் அரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ அடிமையன கிறங்கி ஆட்கொள்ள வந்திடில் அரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ அடிமையன கிறங்கி ஆட்கொள்ள வந்திடில் அரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ அடிமையன கிறங்கி ஆட்கொள்ள வந்திடில் அரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ குரல் வடிவாய் வந்து ஈரேழுலகளந்தாய் குரல் வடிவாய் வந்து ஈரேழுலகளந்தாய் சரணமதால் கண்ணே சாபமும் தீர்த்தாய் அரவ கொடியாரிடம் ஐவருக்காக சென்றாய் அரவ கொடியாரிடம் ஐவருக்காக சென்றாய் கருணாநிதியும் திருநாமம் சொல்லி கருணாநிதியும் திருநாமம் சொல்லி கனிந்து மெயுகிட அழைத்திடும் எனக்கு நிலரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ கருணாநிதியும் திருநாமம் சொல்லி கனிந்து மெயுகிட அழைத்திடும் எனக்கு நிலரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ அடிமையன கிறங்கியார் கொண்ட அரவிந்த பதமலர் நோகுமோ
Those Padaravindas that draw Bhaktas' feet also go by themselves to visit the homes of Bhaktas at moments when the Bhakta needs it. At that time, the Bhakta themselves may not know that they need it, but I can't help but share a very personal experience that I just was fortunate enough, we were fortunate enough to witness this 10 days prior to today, when we had decided, a few of us had gotten together and decided to perform Sita Kalyanam. And we were choosing a venue for this because it was meant to be an intimate gathering. And suddenly, a friend reached out and said, "Why don't you do it at my house?" So it was decided, and that morning we all arrived there. The Purohits arrived. The entire Karyakramam went on as per Vidhanam. And soon after the procedure, after the Kalyanam was over, at that point, our friend's mother, who was in the room, is quite elderly. At that point, the nurse from that room came out from the room visibly very panicky, and we started to understand what was happening. So we quickly wound up, and life has a beautiful way of showing us something. We barely left their place. Everybody was out. It was just the family that was there. And in that moment, just in the same space where Sita Kalyanam had happened an hour before, in that very space, that lady attained Sadgati. Now, what is heartwarming about it doesn't stop here. I went back home, we were reflecting on what brought this to be. This lady was a Krishna Bhakta her entire life. For her, every day, and in the last few days of her life, she would keep telling her daughter, "Kanna is coming, Kanna is coming, Kanna is coming." And further, unknown to so many of us, for several years of her life, every year, once a year, she would buy 2 Tirumangalyams, and 1 Mangalyam she would donate to Srirangam for Tayar, and 1 Mangalyam she would donate in Kanchi, Kamakoti Matham for Ambal. And perhaps Rama took all of that into consideration and said, now, in the ultimate moment when she has to go, it will be with Sita Kalyanam, which she used to facilitate for all these years. I will perform, I will come with Lakshmana, with Sita, with Bharata, with Shatrughna, and with Pavamana Sutudu, and I will give her that reception into my Divya Dhamam. That is the kind of bhakti that goes far beyond the realm of textbooks. Because in such a bhakti, it is experience. Whenever we saw this lady, she was reading, either she was reading the Divya Prabandham, she was reading Paduka Sahasram, anything to do with Perumal, she would be picking it up and internalizing it with only one sentence at the end of everything. Na Krishnudu na kostadu, she used to say. My Krishna will come for me. And how he came? He came reminding all of us that when a bhakta calls, I will come. This is why in Alvar literature there is a very, very beautiful line where the bhakta talks about that moment. Because our Jivita Kalam is finite, but a lot of attention has been given on that final moment when we have to transition out. In that moment, we are expected for our own liberation to focus on Him. But we don't have control on that moment. We don't know in that moment how we will be, where we will be, what state of consciousness we will be. That is why one Alvar so beautifully he says, Appodaikku ippode sollivaithen. For that time, I am telling you now, you come then and you pick me up because I don't know how I will be in that moment. But what I am doing now, the acts of love that I am performing for you now, remember them then. Shankaracharya said the same thing in Subramanya Bhujangam where he says, Na karyantakale managapyupeksha. Don't disappoint me at that end moment. Because in that moment, a lifetime of love, you and you alone know if I deserve to be picked up by you or not. And never does the Lord disappoint. That is the sampradayam that we come from, seeing and recognizing that around us. That in a moment when she had to go, the family of this lady was not focusing on their temporary loss. They were reading out Sriman Narayana Charanau Sharanamaham Prapadya. They were reading into her ear. Because in that moment, it is a time when we have to keep aside all emotions that we are having and focus on building the bridge from here to the next stage. That is the buddhi that our Hiriyaru, our ancestors, our Peddavallu gave us. They gave us much more than just phenomenal knowledge systems alone. They gave us belief systems to hold on to, saying in that moment, when you call out to Him, remember that your acts of love will be heard. And I think that forays us into asking that question, saying, instead of asking what books can I read, which version of Ramayana can I buy, when can I get an English translation of Bhagavata Puranam, how can I develop Jiva Samskaram? How can I learn to open myself up to His love which is all around me? That is Peddala Buddhi. And Sadguru Tyagaraja Swami asked one very powerful question, saying, Yenduku Peddala Vale Buddhi Eva O Ramaya, why don't you give me that buddhi of these ancestors of ours?
Yenduku pedala vale buddhiyavu.
The buddhi, the bhakti of that hunter that made him search for Narasimha everywhere and see Narasimha everywhere. Why can't I have that kind of approach to finding you, O Rama?
Yenduku pedala vale buddhiyavu.
Why can't I have that bhakti of Janabai, of Chokkamela, that I listened to your call and I came to you when you called me?
Yenduku pedala vale buddhiyavu.
Why don't I receive that bhakti of my own ancestors who focused so much on your Namam that Namam helped them cross over when they were letting go?
ఎందుకు పేదల వలె బోధియవు ఎందు పోదునయ్య రామయ్య ఎందుకు పేదల వలె బోధియవు ఎందు పోదునయ్య రామయ్య ఎందుకు పేదల వలె బోధియవు ఎందు పోదునయ్య రామయ్య ఎందుకు పేదల వలె బుద్ధియవు.
Rather than having the pride of learning Veda, Shastra, Vedanta, Tattva, or knowing about Nada and Nada Anusandhana and all these phenomenal knowledge systems alone, when can I learn to love you with my heart? When can that buddhi take over my heart and my intellect?
వేద శాస్త్ర తత్వార్థములు తెలిసి వేదరహిత వేదాంతములు తెలిసి నాద విద్య మర్మంబులను తెలిసి నాథ త్యాగరాజను నాథ త్యాగరాజను నాథ ತ್ಯಾಗರಾಜನು
The spirit of human existence is not about the application of intellect alone. It is about letting go of that intellect at that moment when not intellect but prema alone can pick us up. And Sakhya Bhakti is no different from that prema. Sakhyam, befriending the divine, is a form of that love. This aged party whose story we just shared about, it was years and a lifetime of her Sakhyam with Krishna that gave her the confidence to say that morning, my Krishna is coming. She was struggling with various mental ailments at that point, and she wasn't even conscious of Sita Kalyanam happening in her own house. But still she said, my Krishna is coming. Why? Because as we move on and on physically and spiritually, the Bahya Prapancha, the Bahyendriyas, the external sense organs, they may or may not know, but the Jiva inside knows. And Paramatma comes for the sake of that Jiva. Paramatma recognizes what the Jiva is saying, and that conversation is known to only both of them. Otherwise, why else would we choose that very location for Sita Kalyanam? Because that is Paramatma saying, I have already chosen the location, let's go. How do we build that kind of Sakhyam with him? How do we constantly remind ourselves not to fool ourselves into traps of the mind, saying, I have to do this step number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till 16, and then only he is mine. How do we go past that? We look at the divine, because the divine is the best case study for everything. We want to be a good friend, we look at the divine. So we take help from a Purana Katha that talks about, so far now, up till this point, we have been looking of Bhaktas of Narayana, of Perumal, here on the earthly realm. But Paramatma has a best friend. And that best friend of Paramatma, who is that? Sudama on the earthly plane, but Narada is a phenomenal bhakta, yes. Parameshwara. Parameshwara has a beautiful name of Vishnu Vallabha, is one of his names. One who is most dear to Vishnu, and he is extremely fond of Vishnu as well. So, in this very beautiful Leela, what we observe is how these two friends appear for each other, how they show up for each other, because friendship is about showing up. It's about being there when your friend needs you. And in this moment, in the Katha, we are taken to that time after Daksha's Yajnam has been destroyed by Parameshwara. This Yajnam of Daksha, he undertook in order to insult Shiva. Sati went to that Yajnam, and Sati let go of her body using Yogagni. When Parameshwara heard of this, apart from entering and doing Daksha Yajna Vidhvamsam, he looked at the source of his own pranam, Sati. As a Leela, she was not there anymore. But in terms of the Katha, it's a very moving moment where his own Jivaswamini is not there. So he picks up the body of Sati and he goes to Gaganamandalam to perform a dance, because seeing this body of Sati is giving rise to a host of emotions inside Parameshwara. So as he picks up that body and he goes there, he begins an Akala Tandavam. And this Tandavam is very, very dangerous to Srishti, to Sthiti, and to the balance. All the Devatas were watching as Parameshwara took that body and began to move. All the Devatas watching, wanting to stop him, but who has the courage to say, Parameshwara, don't? This Akala Tandavam, every beat of this Tandavam is causing life to leave. It is threatening the order in this cosmos. The Devatas appeal to the only person who knows Parameshwara's Hridayam, who knows Parameshwara's heart, and they went straight to Kailasa. From Kailasa, where Parameshwara had gone, they went straight from Kailasa to Vaikunthapuram and asked Narayana to appear. Narayana came and stood behind Shiva, watching what was triggering this dance, what was causing this intense grief to emerge as anger. The body of Sati. Every second Parameshwara had his eyes fixated on that body. So, as long as the body was in front of him, the dance would continue. The only way to stop this Akala Tandavam was to take away the body from him. How would they do that? Vishnu, standing behind Shiva, calculated and recognized that Shiva is Nataraja. So his every beat, his every placement on the ground of his foot has a beat to it. He realized if he cuts Sati's body piece by piece and it falls away, then the body will be gone, Parameshwara's trigger will go. Parameshwara's trigger goes, he will stop that dance. But how to cut that body? That body can only be cut with the Sudarshana Chakra in such a way that every time Parameshwara's foot hits the floor, Vishnu has to use that same moment to cut piece by piece. And so, unknown to Parameshwara, he starts to do that. As time goes by, a few moments later, head gone, neck gone, torso gone, hands gone, waist gone, knees gone, thighs gone, feet gone. Parameshwara realizes there's no more Sati over here. And in that moment of intense rage, he said, up till now, I was dancing with whatever remnants of Sati I had with me. Now, even that has been taken away from me. So, whoever it is that took away Sati from me, that took away Sati's body from me, who separated me and my Dharmapatni, I curse them that they should be separated from their Dharmapatni. In that moment, the Devatas were all shocked. A Shapam had been pronounced on Sriman Narayana. Who would tell Parameshwara this? In this very moment, Narada came in front of him and said, Swami, the Shapam that you have uttered goes to Narayana because it is Narayana who cut Sati's body in all these parts. Parameshwara relented immediately and said, I cursed Vishnu? What did I do? That same moment, Vishnu appears in front of him and he says, Parameshwara, what a beautiful help you have performed for me, because I soon have to incarnate in Bhumandalam. And at that time when I incarnate, me and my Dharmapatni, we have no karma because we are Sachidananda Tattvam, like you. We have no karma, so we have to still separate. But if we have no karma, how can we separate? So now this Shapam that you have given, I will keep it in my pocket and I will use it in that avataram when we will both get separated, and then we will liberate some jivas through this separation. Paramatma, which avataram is Vishnu talking about? Rama avataram. Parameshwara listened to all this and he was still upset. He said, whatever it is, this curse may come in handy for you, but it is I who pronounced this curse on you, Vishnu. So I am going to rectify it. And let me give you my assurance that when you both separate, I will manifest and I will bring you back together, and I will come as Sundaro Nama Vanaraha. I will take the form of Sundara and come, and after this very Vanara, there is an entire Kanda named in the Valmiki Ramayana, that is the Sundara Kanda. So who is that Sundaro Nama Kapihi, that Sundaro Nama Vanaraha? Sakshat Rudra Swarupa. That Rudra who came now and joined them. Purandaradasa so beautifully said, Ekadashiya Rudrani Hididayo Ramaracharana. You are that Rudra who bowed down to Rama's feet and took Rama's mudra across the ocean and joined Sita and Rama together.
Ekadashiya Rudrani Ekadashiya Rudrani Hididayo Ramaramudra Ekadashiya Rudrani Hididayo Ramaramudra Ekadashiya Rudrani Hididayo Ramaramudra Setuve gatti samudrani Setuve gatti samudrani ಹಾರಿದಯೋ ಬಲಭದ್ರ ಸೇತುವೆ ಗಟ್ಟಿ ಸಮುದ್ರಾನಿ ಹಾರಿದಯೋ ಬಲಭದ್ರ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಮಲವರ ಗಂಡಲಗಾಣ ಸಕಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಪ್ರವೀಣನಿ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಚರಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪ್ರಾಣನಿ ಮಲವರ ಗಂಡಲಗಾಣ ಸಕಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಪ್ರವೀಣನಿ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಚರಣ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಚರಣ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಚರಣ.
As much as Hanuman is Rudra, and Rudra said he will incarnate, when that time came that Vishnu took incarnation as Rama, Mahalakshmi came as Sita, and all the Vanaras were all Devata Amshas at that point. And I have shared the story earlier, but it feels incomplete to proceed without sharing it. At that point, Narada, again, who works faster than WhatsApp, he came quickly to Kailasa and he said, "You are still here? Everybody has gone." Shiva said, "Where?" "To Bhuloka, Swami. Vishnu is incarnating as Rama. You are still here." He said, "Oh, he is already incarnated as Rama. I have to go." That is why if you see, Sri Navami and Hanuma Jayanti are just 6 days apart. Hanuma Jayanti comes on Purnima because WhatsApp went till Kailasa and then he came. So as he's getting up from Kailasa to go, inside there is somebody you have to tell. I just told you 15 minutes of a story of how you have to tell them when you are up to something. In Kailasa also there is someone. Who is that? Parvati. He gets up and he says, "I'm going." In that moment she says, "Where?" And he quickly says, "I'm going to Bhulokam. I must go to Anjanadri Konda and be born to Anjana Devi's Garbham because I have to go and join Vishnu and Lakshmi together as I promised." And she said, "Oh, what a beautiful karyam. I will also come." Koncham, in that moment, he is also her friend, no? They also have their own Sakhya Bhavam going on. So he looked at her and he said, "You will also come, like my tail." And she said, "I will come exactly as that tail." And that is why if you observe Sundarakanda very carefully, it is that tail which does all the burning. That tail is Amavaru. That tail is Jaganmata. That is why in this part of the country you have the beautiful sampradayam of doing the Langula Puja to Swami. The Langula Puja is nothing but Sampurna Shakti Aradhana. When you look at Anjaneya Swami, the Murti is of Rudra, the tail is of Shakti. Together it is Ardhanarishwara Swarupa. There also Sakhyam, there also harmony. And in that beautiful relationship continues in so many different ways for them. But when you look at what happens to Anjaneya Swami and once he arrives, the entire Ramayana acquires a different pranam. That is why in Madhva Sampradayam, Anjaneya Swami is known as Mukhya Prana. Because literally and metaphorically, he is Prana Devaru. He is that Prana Shakti that is inside all of us. But he is the Prana Shakti of the Ramayana. Because look at the moment in Ramayana. Sita has been kidnapped. Rama is pretending to be Maya Manusha Charitra. He is pretending to be a Manusha. So when he is pretending, he is not saying, "I already know where I have to go." He is experiencing those pangs of separation. He doesn't know where Sita is. And Jatayu, who was his only link, Jatayu has attained Sadgati. All of this is happening. But who is guiding Rama? One force after the other says, "No, you have to go find Sugriva." And Rama goes towards, where is Sugriva? Kishkindha Parvatam. As Rama goes towards Kishkindha Parvatam, it is at this moment that Anjaneya Swami enters the epic. And look at that beautiful moment. Because here you will understand, if you befriend this one character, this one Anjaneya Swami alone, you are sorted for life. Because when Rama and Lakshmana are coming towards Kishkindha Parvatam, Sugriva is in Kishkindha Parvatam and Sugriva is in a very insecure mood. Why? Because Sugriva is very worried about his brother Vali. Sugriva is worried that Vali is going to come after his life because they have their own equation. And his biggest fear are these two men sent by Vali. And that is also Maya. That when Paramatma himself is coming for us, our own life struggles are constantly forming a veil in front of us like a thera. And we can't see the reality. In that moment, Sugriva did one thing. He had 1,000 insecurities, but he did one thing right. He kept Anjaneya Swami by his side. As soon as Anjaneya Swami heard this, he said, "You don't worry, I will see who it is. I will get them and I will come. I will talk to them and I will come." As soon as he entered the epic only, he showed his Swarupam as Abhayanjaneya. He gave Sugriva Abhayam. So, he goes immediately, he speaks to Rama and Lakshmana, brings them back to Kishkindha, and he tells Sugriva, by forming a friendship with Rama, Sugriva, not only will you regain that kingdom which Vali threw you out of, you can render your own service and show your gratitude to Rama and build your own friendship. So Hanuman takes them across the fire 3 times because Agni Sakshi, they take their friendship with Agni Sakshi. Because a friendship is no less light than any other kind of intense relationship in our lives, even romantic. A friendship also requires commitment. Here, Anjaneya Swami brought that friendship for Sugriva, and that friendship brought Sugriva so much of joy, so much of peace, and so much of prakhyati, so much of fame, because it is under Sugriva's army that Sita was rediscovered. So let's take a few moments to recognize what happens when Anjaneya Swami comes into our lives. 1, he connects us straight to Rama. He makes us friends with Rama, number 1. Number 2, something else also happens, but we'll get there.
हनुमत सेवित निज पर राम, नत सुग्रीवाभीष्ट दराम। हनुमत सेवित निज पर राम, नत सुग्रीवाभीष्ट दराम। गर्वित वाली संहार कराम, वानर दूत पेश कराम। हित कर लक्ष्मण संयुत राम, राम राम जय राजा राम। राम राम जय सीता राम, राम राम जय राजा राम। राम राम जय सीता राम।
Up till this point in the Nama Ramayanam, everything is describing Rama. Hanumat Sevita Nijapada Rama, that Rama who was worshipped by Hanuman. Nata Sugriva Bhishtada Rama, that Rama who blessed Sugriva. But now comes the Sundarakanda in this portion. In the Sundarakanda, Rama is not gone anywhere. It is Hanuman who has gone. So very carefully, the Kavi over here says that Kapivara is Anjaneya Swami. Kapivara Santata Samsmrita Ram. That Kapivara continuously thought of Rama and jumped across the ocean. Then Kapivara Santata Samsmrita Ram Tatgati Vighna Dhvamsakaram. His Vighnas are all destroyed by Rama. Notice how it starts. Kapivara Santata Samsmrita Ram, and then tell me how it ends, and we will unfold a very beautiful mystery together. You can chant along for this.
कपिवर संतत संस्मृत राम, तद्गति विघ्न ध्वंसकराम। कपिवर संतत संस्मृत राम, तद्गति विघ्न ध्वंसकराम। सीता प्राणधारक राम, दुष्ट दुशानन दूषित राम। शिष्ट हनुमद्भूषित राम, सीता वेदित काकावन राम। कृत चूड़ामणि दर्शन राम, कपिवर वचनाश्वासित राम राम जय राजा राम राम जय सीता राम जय राजा राम राम जय सीता राम जय सीता राम जय सीता
How did it start? Kapivara Santata Samsmritaram. What was the last word? Kapivara Vachana Shwasitaram. It begins by saying that Kapivara constantly thought of Rama as he crossed the ocean, and it ends saying that Rama was assured by Kapivara. Kapivara Vachana Shwasitaram. He was reassured by him. So what happens if you make Sakhyam with Anjaneya Swami? He who gives Sakhyam to the Trilokas, Rama, he was reassured by that friendship. That is the power of Anjaneya Swami. That is the power of befriending any form of the divine. And when you befriend them, even if it is for a moment, if you strike a connect saying, I want, and this is the important thing, not I want from you, not I want my daughter to get married, I want my son to get MBA, I want all these things, that Paramatma is not interested in. That he will just sign and give you. But if you say, I want you, he will say, oh, you want me? Okay, I will come. That I want you happens even for 1 second if Paramatma enters in our lives. And there is a very beautiful story that does entire justice to that. During the Vanavasam, since we are entirely now in Ramayanam, during the Vanavasam, there is one moment when Sita and Rama are laying on a rock in the Dandakavanam. The sparsha of that rock and that beautiful moment of intimacy between both of them is so deep that Rama, who is otherwise pretending to be the perfect actor, everybody thinks, oh, Ramudu Manchi Baludu, this Krishnudu only is the Donga, actually reverse. Because in Ramayanam, Rama is sitting like this saying, I should not tell anybody I'm God, I should not tell anybody I'm God, because Ravana has a condition that only a man can kill him. So Rama is actually playing the part of a perfect actor. Krishnuduga godave ledu eppudu kavalste he'll take out Sudarshan Chakram, tuck 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 tuck, he'll say, this is my Vishwarupa Sandarshanam. Rama, in that moment, who is otherwise pretending perfectly to be Nara, in this moment with Sita, when they are laying down on that rock, he says, this moment feels like I am in Vaikuntha. And the bhavam of that moment is so much that that rock absorbs that bhavam. So that rock thinks to itself, this bhagyam of having Rama and Sita on my head, I hope I can have it again. And then the rest of Vanavasam continues. So they leave from there. We all know what happens. But this rock had a thought. And this is where we inculcate what Sakhya Bhakti is. One thought connects us to him. This rock had this thought constantly, I want him, I want him, I want him, I want him. And the rock gave up its pranam. The rock came back in another life as the son of another Parvata. Because the rock is going to be the son of a Parvata. This is the son of Meru Parvata. Meru, himself a phenomenal Giri. Meru had 2 sons. And Meru's sons both had a special blessing. One of the sons is Nilagiri. Nilagiri is where Swami resides today as Jagannatha. So that is in Puri. And this other son, this son's name is Bhadra. So this boy Bhadra, as he grows up, that desire from Purva Janma Samskaram does not leave. The thoughts that we have, they hold on to us and they come back. These are what we call vasanas. So that thought came back, I want. So he did a Tivra Tapasya for Rama. Now, in between this rock in his previous life and becoming Bhadra in this life, the rest of Ramayana was coming to a close. But Rama remembered that, there is this Bhadra who I made this promise to. And he is doing tapas for me, so I must go. But the opportune moment is just not there. Because if you look at Ramayanam, nobody has a packed schedule as much as Ramachandra. Every day of those Vanavasams is busy for him. So, Ravana Samharam is over. He has returned to Ayodhya. Pattabhishekam is over. And Avatara Samapti is very close. And when Avatara Samapti is happening, Rama, who drowns his body in Sarayu Jalam, at that point he is ascending to Vaikuntha as Vishnu. Rama, who had only Dvibhujas, 2 hands as long as he was on earth, sprouted the other 2 hands with the Shankha Chakra and he was ascending to Vaikuntha. In that moment, he heard the Bhakta saying, Rama, you said you will come here. I want you. I want to recreate that moment when you felt this was Vaikuntham. But you are going away to that Vaikuntham. What about me? And Rama, midway to Vaikuntham, with the Shankha Chakra, immediately called Sita, and they both, along with Lakshmana Swami, came and stepped onto this hillock and said, our promise will not be in vain. And he came here with a very special intention. That's why if you see Bhadradri Rama, he looks very different from Vishnu in any other place. In the right hand, Swami holds the Sudarshana Chakram. Over here, in the right hand, he holds the Panchajanyam. Because through the Panchajanyam, he gives Bhadra that tapas. He gives him that mokshanugraham. Now, this moksham is different, of a different kind, but in the interest of time, just sharing one very beautiful incident, which is a pratyaksha anubhavam, a live experience which you can have if you go to this temple. If you go there and you do a pradakshanam around the temple, there is one portion of the temple where you can go and put your ear to the rock. And the Tivra Tapasya of Bhadragiri, of that Giri, which wanted Rama on top of him, that can actually be heard. You can hear Rama Namam coming from there.
Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai 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 Jai
There is a very beautiful story that I heard from a local over there who said when Rama was sitting on top of Bhadragiri and became Bhadrachala Rama, there was one instance when he went around the Prakaram, moving around the hillock, and he heard his own Namam. So he called Bhadra and he said, your tapas, you called out to me so that I came. Now I am eternally here in this Nilayam as Bhadradri Rama, as Moksha Rama, Vaikuntha Rama. But I can still hear my Namam coming from you. Why now? Bhadra smiled and he said, Swami, till now the tapas was what? Your Nama Japam. That tapas was to call you and to keep you here. Now that you are here, this Nama Japam is to keep you safe, Swami. That is why I am doing your Nama Japam, for you to be safe. This is the bhavam of Pallanda. May you be well, Swami, may you be well. Because that Namam is so powerful, that Namam brings so much of joy, that the Bhakta who is eternally connected to this Kshetram, we cannot speak about this Kshetram without speaking of that Bhakta. Who is that Bhakta? Bhadrachala Ramadas understood the Hridayam of this Bhavam and said, O Rama, Nee Namam Yenta Ruchira. What an extraordinary elixir this Namam has.
ఓ రామని నామం ఏమి రుచిరా, 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 శ్రీరామని నామం ఎంత రుచిరా, ఓ రామ నీ నామం ఏమి రుచిరా, శ్రీరామని నామం ఎంత రుచిరా, ఓ రామ నీ నామం ఏమి రుచిరా. మధురసముల కంఠే దధిఘృతముల కంఠే, మధురసముల కంఠే దధిఘృతముల కంఠే, అతిరసమగు నామం ఏమి రుచిరా, మధురసముల కంఠే దధిఘృతముల కంఠే, అతిరసమగు నామం ఏమి రుచిరా, ద్రాక్ష ఫలము కల్లే ఇక్షురసము కల్లే, ద్రాక్ష ఫలము కల్లే ఇక్షురసము కల్లే, పక్షి మగని నామం ఏమి రుచిరా, ఓ రామ నీ నామం ఏమి రుచిరా, శ్రీరామని నామం ఎంత రుచిరా, ఓ రామ నీ నామం ఏమి రుచిరా, ఏమి రుచిరా.
The journey goes on and there are so many more things to share. Can I have your permission to go 5 minutes beyond 9 p.m? Actually, koncham trick question because I cannot leave without Anjaneya Swami coming back. Because the beauty of Rama Namam, of that person who is eternally doing Rama Nama Japam, although he is a Siddha in that Namam, is that he finds us and takes us to him. Not just with Sugriva, but he helps us become friends with Paramatma. And in that context, there is one Bhakta of Rama who we mentioned previously, Goswami Tulsidas, who is so fond of Rama, but has not yet had Sakshatkaram of Rama. He has not seen Rama just yet. So he is deeply desirous to do this. So Tulsi, again, Nama Japam leads to Sakhyam, Sakhyam leads to Adbhuta Phala Pradatam. So there is one beautiful instance where Tulsi is constantly doing Rama Nama Japam. And at the end of that Japam, he pours the water, as we all do, saying, Sri Ramachandra Parabrahma Padaravindarpanamastu. That water that he pours, every day he used to pour it at the base of a tree. So, this was his daily routine. Suddenly, one day from the tree, a Brahma Rakshasa came out and said, because of the Rama Nama Mahima in that Jalam, I am freed from the curse of Brahma Rakshasatvam which kept me in this tree. Because you did this for me, is there anything I can do as a pratyupakaram for you? Kritecha pratikartavyam hesho dharma sanatanaha, says the Valmiki Ramayana. To return an act of favor is an eternal truth. Hesho dharma sanatanaha. That is our Samskriti. Brahma Rakshasa didn't say, okay, thank you very much, bye-bye, see you. He said, what can I do for you? Because I am going to the heavens, but you did this for me, so what can I do for you? What does a bhakta want? He wants to see Rama. So he said, I want to see Rama. అయ్యో అంతేం చేయలేను నేను. I thought I can give you some sampada, some dhanam, some property, but I can't do more than that. He said, no, but you asked me what I want to see Rama. So the Brahma Rakshasa thinks and he says, I can't directly take you to Rama, but I can take you to somebody who can take you to Rama. So you pay attention, Tulsi. When you are doing Ramayana Parayanam, when you every day read out Ramayana, the Ramcharitamanas, and you explain the verses from it, in the sabha that you hold, In the corner every day, one old man comes. That old man is none other than Anjaneya Swami. Aina kaallu pattuko nuvu. You go and hold his feet. He will take you to Rama. So Tulsidas, up till now when he used to deliver his lectures on Ramayana, he would be so lost in Ramakatha. But the next day onwards, he was very distracted because he wants to look for Anjaneya Swami and he finds him. So he goes and catches his feet. And that's a longer story, but in the interest of time, we condense it. And this man appears to him as Anjaneya Swami and says, you want to see Rama? I will tell you when and where Rama will come, but you have to be very alert. So he tells him, he prompts him, and Tulsidas goes ready. But in that moment, Rama comes and Rama's Maya also comes and Tulsidas forgets that it's Rama. This happens multiple times and Hanuman takes him and he says, you sit on the ghat, you sit there and you make chandanam. When you're making chandanam, a host of bhaktas will come. To each of them you apply chandanam. At that time, Rama and Lakshmana will come. So Tulsidas is very carefully doing this, waiting for Rama and Lakshmana to come. And this time Hanuman realized, better I am alerting him, and he becomes a parrot sitting on the tree close by. So he's sitting there as Tulsidas is doing this. Chitrakoot ke ghat pe santan bhaiyon ki bheed, says the verse. Similar words come there. And Tulsi is applying tilak. And in that moment, one very dark man and one very fair man both appear in front of Tulsi. And suddenly he has lost all his consciousness. He's just looking at them. The parrot is screaming, Rama is here, Rama is here. That Rama Chiluka is saying, Rama is here. Tulsidas has no consciousness. He's just applying that tilakam. And they go. And in that moment, Hanuman flies to him and he said, so many times I've shown you Rama, still you have not been able to recognize him. But Tulsi says something very beautiful. There are different versions of the story. And one version is very beautiful where Tulsi says, at least through this, I am having the opportunity of multiple darshanams through him along with you by my side. So this is good for me. But I think it's also beautiful to pay homage to that bhakta who befriended Rama in this format. Tulsidas struck a bond with Anjaneya Swami as well as with Rama and ultimately recognized that that Namam had become his friend, and that Namam had the power to bring in, to drive in auspiciousness and to drive out inauspiciousness. And his language is far more beautiful than this to say it. That is why he said, Mangala Bhavana Amangala Hari.
मंगल भवन मंगल हारी, मंगल भवन मंगल हारी, प्रभु सुदशरथ अजिर बिहारी, मंगल भवन मंगल हारी, प्रभु सुदशरथ अजिर बिहारी, सीताराम चरित अति पावन, मधुर सरस और अति मन भावन, पुनि पुनि कितने सुने सुनाए, की प्यास बुझत न बुझाए, राम सिया राम जय जय राम, 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 राम जय जय राम, राम राम, अवनामामृतं सेविकुदिव्यौषधम्, अवनामामृतं सेविकुदिव्यौषधम्, अवनामामृतं सेविकुदिव्यौषधम्, हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम, हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम, ராமனை பஜித்தால் நோய்வினை தீருமீன் சஞ்சல மகன்றிடுமே. சீதா ராமனை பஜித்தால் நோய்வினை தீருமீன் சஞ்சல மகன்றிடுமே. சீதா ராமனை கண்ணால் காண்போம் என்றே பிறந்த பயன் அடையோ. அவன் நாமாமிருதம் செவிக்குகின்றோ சரம். அவன் நாமாமிருதம் செவிக்குகின்றோ சரம். ஹரே ராம் 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 சீதா ராம் ராம் ராம். ஹரே ராம் 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 சீதா ராம் ராம் ராம். ஹரே ராம் சீதா ராம். ஹரே ராம்.
So Sakhya Bhakti is very easy. Moral of the story, no? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am not so sure. Because if it were that easy, one story wouldn't challenge it so much. There's a very, very powerful instance where there is this king in a forest. And this king, this is during Ramayana Kalam. So Rama is the king of Ayodhya. And there is another king, a junior king under him, who is ruling another desham. And this king is going through the forest one day. He has just finished hunting. So he's dirty and he doesn't want to go close to a Yajnashala in the middle of the forest. He sees some rishis over there. And from afar, he does a namaskaram. So he sees Vishwamitra, Vasishtha, Atri and some others. He only sees Vasishtha very clearly from where he is, from the opening in the trees. So he does a namaskaram silently and he leaves. Narada is there. So Narada looks at this situation. He goes to Vasishtha and he said, you saw that king? That king did a namaskaram to you. Vasishtha said, my blessings on him. He went to Vishwamitra. You saw that king? He didn't do namaskaram to you. Vishwamitra said, okay Narada, Odle. Oyoyo, he has done namaskaram to Vasishtha because Vasishtha is Brahma Rishi. Narada knows how to hit where it hurts. He has done namaskaram to Vasishtha because he is Brahma Rishi. Maybe he thought you are not so much, so he didn't do. Immediately Vishwamitra got angry. He said, so this not doing namaskaram to me is an act of rebellion from his side? Rama is my friend. I will go and ask Rama for a favor. Immediately, Sakhyam. He goes to Rama and he says, Rama, this king has deliberately insulted me. I want you as a Kshatriya to bring his head to my feet before sunset tomorrow evening. So Rama said, Tathastu. Swami, I will do this for you. Rama has agreed. Meanwhile, Narada immediately goes to this king and he said, do you know what you have done? Vishwamitra is very angry because you did not do namaskaram to Vishwamitra. So the king said, I didn't even know Vishwamitra was there. He said, oh, well, he was. And you didn't know that. So now you're in trouble. So the king said, what do I do? Narada said, I'll give you a solution, but you have to follow exactly. Whatever I say, you should follow. You go straight to Anjanadri Parvatam. Anjana Devi is there. Go and tell Anjana Devi you need her protection. Don't tell her against whom. So immediately this king goes to Anjanadri. And he meets Anjana Devi. Anjana Devi is Anjanaya Swami's mother. So he meets her and he says, Amma, I need your protection against somebody who is going to kill me. Immediately she says, you have come asking for Sharanagati. And anybody who comes asking for surrender and asking for protection must not be denied. That is my dharma. So I will protect you and my son will protect you against anybody who is challenging him, who is challenging you. So immediately she summons Hanuman. So Hanuman appears and he sees this king so worried about his life. And he says, I am giving you abhayam. You have nothing to fear. Nobody can kill you. What is your worry? Who do you need protection from? Then the king said, Rama. Hanuman said, okay. Hanuman jumped straight to Ayodhya and he said, Swami, I have promised that king abhayam. And Rama said, Hanuman, I have promised to kill that king. So Hanuman says, Swami, what are we going to do? That king has befriended me, Sakhyam. Rama said, Vishwamitra has befriended me, Sakhyam. Hanuman asks, what is the answer? What is the answer? A yuddham has to happen. And how does that yuddham take place between both of them? There is a lot of bhavartha, a lot of hidden meaning behind this. Between one person befriending Rama, another person befriending Hanuman, and both of them coming face to face. Up to now, we explored examples where one is conducive to experiencing the other, but now, amne samne, the context is very different. So how do they battle each other? Does a yuddham actually happen between Anjaneya Swami and Rama? This we will answer tomorrow at Pradosha Kalam during Shiva Sakhyam. So to ensure that you come tomorrow, this story is taking a pause over here. And as we do that, 24 hours between now and our next satsang, spend a little bit of time away from something that you normally do. A little bit of vairagyam towards samsara and a little bit of anurakti towards Paramatma, taking help from Bhagavad Pada's immortal verse. We say, without vairagyam, there is no sukham. Kasya sukham na karoti viraga. So we ask you, in whatever way is possible, spend a little time away from the world with Paramatma, develop that bond and strengthen it as we come back here tomorrow evening to explore this. Tomorrow evening, Vishnu Sakhyam organically moves into Shiva Sakhyam. Kinchit Vairagya, Kinchit Prema, Kinchit Sakhyam. A seed that will germinate in your own journeys. See you tomorrow evening. At the same time, Swasti, Shubharatri.
வித்தியாசமான பார்வையில் அனைவரும் ரசிக்கும்படி இசையுடன் கூடிய ஆங்கிலத்தில் சிறப்பு நிகழ்ச்சியினை திரு வினய் வாரணாசி அவர்கள் வழங்க அனுபவித்தோம். சிதறை கிடக்கும் பொக்கிஷங்களை அழகாக ராம நாமத்தில் கோர்த்து பூமாலை பொன்மாலை சாற்றினார். Sir, your suspense is going to give us a sleepless night. அவருடன் உடன் இசைத்த பாடகர் அவருக்கும் நாங்கள் பெரிதும் கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கின்றோம். முத்துசுவாமி தீட்சிதர் அவர்களின் பரம்பரை என்னும் பிரதிபலிப்பு சம்பிரதாயம் வழுவாத இசையில் வெளிப்படுத்தியது. ஸ்ரீ விவேக் சதாசிவம் அவர்களின் இனிமையான நெகிழ்வான குரல் கேட்கும் பொழுது ஆன்மீக உணர்வுகள் நம்மை ஆட்கொள்ளுகின்றன. நம்மை அறியாது கைகள் தாளம் போட்டு இறைவன் நாமத்தை ஜபிக்கின்றது. உபன்யாசகருக்கும் பாடகருக்கும் இடையே ஒரு நல்ல புரிதல் இன்று ஒப்பற்ற நிகழ்ச்சியினை அனுபவித்தோம். உடன் இசைத்த கலைஞர்கள் ஸ்ரீ ஜனார்தன் Violin, ஸ்ரீ Adamya Ramanand Mridangam இருவரும் மேலும் மெருகூட்டினர். நல் நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு ஸ்ரீ வினய் வாரணாசி ஸ்ரீ விவேக் குழுவினருக்கு நமது மனமார்ந்த பாராட்டுக்கள். நாளை மாலை 6:30 மணிக்கு சிவசக்கியம் ஸ்ரீ வினய் வாரணாசி அவர்கள் சிவபெருமானின் தெய்வீக நட்பை பற்றி கூற உள்ளார். நாளை இசையில் துணை புரிவோர் விதுஷி சந்தனா பாலகல்யாண் அவர்கள். மீண்டும் ஒரு சிறப்பு நிகழ்ச்சி நமக்காக காத்திருக்கிறது. அனைவரும் திரளாக வர வேண்டுகின்றோம். Those who are interested in our festival, kindly scan the QR code at the entrance or at the counter to receive program details at no cost. Thank you.